What's going on? Welcome back. Welcome back. My name is Olad, man of prestige. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the platform. We're going to have a good time today, as usual. I've got some things to cover here. We're going to talk about wife material, the ultimate 7 point formula. Okay, I got something I want to share with you. 7 points. But before we get into that, we have to debunk a few things. Okay, there's a lot going on in this space of social media, YouTube, Clubhouse, Facebook, Twitter. There's a lot of rhetorics out there, and clearly the best results are not being created, and results don't lie, right? It is what it is. I mean, you can turn around and say, hey, you don't know what you're talking about, but at least we know that the results in the dating, relationship, and marriage scenes are not working out for most people. That's why you see the noise everywhere. You see the complaining everywhere. We're in a situation, an epidemic, if you will, where men are actively complaining than coming up with solutions. And we have to do something about it. Let's make sure that audio is good, before we move any forward. Solution. Awesome. It sounds good. So I've got some really interesting thing I want to cover for you today. You want to make sure you stick around. You want to make sure you ping your friends, share the link to this video with them if they're struggling to get married, if they're struggling to maintain a relationship, if they're struggling to convince themselves that they don't want marriage, because we know that they want marriage. That's why they're involved in these conversations. All right, so sorry about that really quickly. All right, good, we took care of that. So without any further ado, let's go ahead. Okay, you know exactly what we're about to do and get started. And these are sizable books. They are minimum 200 pages. You can download them absolutely for free by simply going to, for example, this one, you just go to getmymarriageback.com, smartrealestatewholesaling.com, realestatemoneysecrets.com. So yes, I am a 3 times author, and those books are out there for your consumption, and they are also available everywhere on Amazon, anywhere that you pick up books. So in case you prefer a physical book like that. All right, welcome back. So the channel and the backup channel, they are both shadow banned. Okay, it is what it is. It's the nature of this beast. We're gonna figure it out. Okay, we will do some promotions. I'll do some tours. I'll do whatever I have to do to bring it up to speed. But if you're here and you really like the content I'm putting out, please do me a favor, hit the like button, hit subscribe. Okay, share this with people you may know, because that will help us move it forward. Now what I'm doing here is quite different. No one else is doing what I'm doing here. What I'm doing actually is sharing the lessons learned. I'm creating a lesson register here. I can't deny it. I can't front. Of course I want to build this platform, and I want it to grow in numbers. Okay, so I'm not going to deny that. I'm not going to front about that. But it's also good to acknowledge that, hey, the nature of what we're doing here, naturally speaking, because we are creating solutions, we are attempting to create solutions, wouldn't necessarily go viral by default because of the nature of it. Now, if I want to go viral, we can say some inflammatory stuff, we can say some polarized views, and then we can do whatever we have to do. Number one, that's not who I am. Number two, I don't think it's necessary. Number three, that would defeat the mission. Okay, so today, like I said, we're talking about wife material, the ultimate 7 points. On the thumbnail, you saw, what's her name? Let me pull it up right now. You saw Lori Harvey, right? She's been trending in the past few days with X, this gentleman, Michael B. Jordan. To be clear, okay, just to be clear, Michael B. Jordan did not do anything wrong. Whatever he did a year ago, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, what we know right now is that the outcome is not favorable, right? He wanted a wife, but he didn't get a wife. At least he wasn't able to extract a wife from this particular person, right? So some people will turn around, because this is a celebrity type of situation, and they will project this nonsense on themselves and say, hey, she wasn't a wife. That's not necessarily true. She's probably going to end up being a wife for someone. Maybe, maybe not. We don't know that. What I'm saying is that we don't know what we don't know. Okay? So with that being said, I've got a couple of clips. a few days ago, I was, just hanging out on the YouTube streets or on the feed, on my feed as usual. Stumbled into a brand new channel called This Is Fight Club by Anton Daniels, right? And then I saw a few gentlemen. So apparently he moved his conversations, the Fight Club, because they almost banned his channel for the conversation. Somebody came on the panel and showed some inappropriate stuff, and they took his channel for a minute, right? So he created another channel for the people that want to talk overnight for the long 12 hours long stream. And of course, I'm not sitting around watching the 12-hour long stream, but I do stumble in once in a while. Sometimes I spend longer than I would like, actually, because it's quite engaging and interesting and fascinating. A lot of young men lost cause. A lot of them are lost cause. I'm sorry to say, but maybe one or two can be saved. Maybe you're a fan of that show like myself, and maybe you're going to stumble into this video. So nonetheless, I stumble into this thing. Hey, Awa, good to see you. Thanks, Awa, for stopping by, right? So nonetheless, we're going to continue this conversation. Awa, I was just talking about, maybe before you came in, that we will be building the platform. It is shadow banned at this point in time. That's why you see that no one is here, but we will get it together maybe in the next 1 or 2 weeks. We will figure it out, okay? But thanks for stopping by, for continuing to support. It means a lot, okay? So again, this is Fight Club by Anton Daniel. So they were talking, and I've collected a few clips. We're going to use them in fair use, okay? And we will talk about it. Before I get into the reason why we're here today, you do want to see this so that it makes sense. Anything I tell you will finally make sense, okay? If I don't share this with you, you probably will say, hey, that's all theoretical. But again, you will see some of these things play out. So let's start. I've got a few clips to cover today. As you can see, I'm coming here daily as much as I can, okay, to deliver some content, some value. Please make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, and share with people you think will find it valuable. So let's get into the first clip, okay?
This, right? This is where they call me a sexist. This is absolutely where they call me a sexist, because I believe I'm better than the woman, for one. So for one, she has to accept that. That's the first thing, right? She has to accept that I'm better than her.
Yeah, I have to let me rewind that. Okay, there's a question that actually created him talking. This is a gentleman called JB. He's popular in the manosphere space. He supports them financially and is always on the panels. And he has his own show on the PIF Network too. So I am going to drag him a little bit today, okay? But it's okay. We're all going to learn from this. Hopefully he receives this in good faith, and he receives as just the ideas, because he has no experience. So we're just attacking the ideas, nothing personal. Let me start again so you can hear the question that he was asked, as a matter of fact.
What makes a woman marriage material?
So the question is, what makes a woman marriage material?
You asking me?
Yeah.
No, you don't know.
I love that you asked me this, right? This is where they call me a sexist. This is absolutely where they call me a sexist, because I believe I'm better than the woman, for one. So for one, she has to accept that. That's the first thing, right? She has to accept that I'm better than her. She has to accept that she has to be of service to me, right? And to our family once we build a family. So she has to accept her role. That's the first thing. Accept her role, being on my program, actually being of service, actually doing what she's supposed to do, aka taking care of the home. My thing is, I'm not gonna have, a career chick or boss chick or any of that, right? I want a stay-at-home wife, and therefore she has to be able to meet that standard. She has to be able to cook, clean, all the standard shit, right? She has to be able to do that. So again, there's a lot of benefits that I'm gonna get from this, right? Because I want to make.
All right. So you see, Aaron just came on the. I've listened to Aaron a few times. He's a lot more balanced, okay, in his views than this guy that's talking right now, JB, right? But to be fair, he's talking about himself. And to be fair, it's all theoretical, because he doesn't have the experience he's talking about. This is just things he thinks will create a good marriage for himself, right? So I'm just wanting to be fair. Nonetheless, I'm going to be very critical that he's full of shit and he doesn't know what is about to come his way. We continue. Let's keep going.
Make sure that she is on that program and that she's doing what she got to do.
What do you
It's a give
mean
and
better
take.
than
It's a
her?
give and take. But it
We'll
has,
see
it
how
has
long
to
that
start. It has to start with her understanding that we ain't on the same level, right? We're not equal. There are gender roles. We're not gender fluid. We don't do pronouns, right? You're a female. I'm a male. You're
I think it's important to point out that there's nothing is saying that's wrong necessarily. But again, it's very important to understand that romantic relationships is not about right and wrong. People that tend to focus on right and wrong when it comes to romantic relationship end up self-sabotaging. Again, the key word is focus, okay? Because there is right and wrong. But when your focus tends to be right and wrong, you end up destroying the team. You're supposed to be a team together, right? It defeats the purpose of you coming together with another human being as a team to create life together, right? So it's not saying anything wrong. So that's not what is wrong with his rhetorics and everything he's saying. You get what I'm saying? What is wrong with what he's saying is not the fact that he's wrong. As a matter of fact, what is wrong with what he's saying is that he's absolutely right, textbook right. Okay?
going to be of service to me, to our family. I'm going to be the leader of the household, right? See, this is where I actually have standards. I'm not just trying to get married for the sake of getting married. I expect to get something out of it.
Well,
And she actually
so
better
how
meet
did
my
the
standards.
how did
She
the
actually better
marriage?
meet my standards.
So how does marriage change that? How come you versus
How
like
do
a
you?
All right, so they're gonna ask him follow-up questions and stuff like that. But let's get into it. Let's dissect what just happened here. I'm gonna read them out to you because again, I thought it was important because there's a lot of young men walking around social media streets repeating what this man just said. Okay, there's a lot of them. Okay, so one, accept. She has to accept that I'm better than her. The woman has to accept that he's better than the woman. Okay, all right. So now for me personally, it's 2022. I'm not talking about 1960 as usual. A type of woman that will basically accept that you're better than me, or that will make that a thing, that will say, hey, yeah, that's actually a concept. You're better than me. In what? It doesn't matter. I'm just better than you, right? What healthy woman do you know would do that? I'm just asking you, okay? What healthy or what woman with a healthy self-esteem? Because we need that as well, right? Okay, this is a woman that's going to come into your life and help you as a helpmate. What healthy woman or what woman with a healthy self-esteem would not find that a little triggering or find that gaslighting of some sort, right? Anyway, number two, be of service to me and to our family. There's nothing wrong with that. Again, I'm reading the nuances. Be of service to me. He said to me, and then he paused for a second, and then he goes forward to say to my family. I guess it makes it right when you say family. Of course, like duh, right? Of course, right? But let's go back to the part where he said to me, right? And that's like a thing to me. And then you pause, right? Let's read your vibe, your energy when you're saying that. That's everything. Some people say, body language is bullshit. No, it's not bullshit. Your body language is a language. It says a lot. Okay, let's keep going. Accept her role. What role exactly are we talking about? So this is a predetermined, predictive role from the beginning of the relationship. So if anything happens in life and situations happen and you will, what you're saying, what I'm hearing you, which you're not necessarily saying, what I am hearing you say, you will have a hard time adjusting accordingly. Let's keep going. Be on my program. Again, there's nothing wrong with that. Just like the previous one, accept her role. There's nothing wrong with that necessarily. We're digging a little bit deeper here because this is complicated. This is a complex issue. It's not as simple as it looks in your textbook or when you observe a couple that looks like they're perfect couple goal. It's not as simple as that, right? Taking care of her home. There's nothing wrong with that. But it also tells me a lot that you're going to have a hard time adjusting in case she gets to a place where she says, I want to go to school. I'm going on a quick trip, business trip, right? You won't know how to respond to that. Even if the right response is, babe, you can't go. We got babies to take care of, right? Your response will be difficult for you because you will basically overreact. That's what I'm hearing. Not necessarily what he's saying, okay? Not now, that's the reality. What people hear and what you say are two different things. That's the reality. So when men says, "Oh no, we gotta face reality," that is a reality. The reality is that what people hear is not necessarily what you're saying, and that becomes your responsibility, because clearly in the beginning of you saying something, you actually intended to communicate, right? But then if communication was not accomplished or was never achieved, you failed. You failed. Anyway, let's keep going here. Not a career chick. What does that mean? What does not career chick mean? By the way, being a mother, being a homemaker is actually sort of kind of a career. It takes a lot of energy out of a woman. So even if you want a woman to do that for you, you will need to change your tone to kind of put some respect on that, because if you don't, it will build resentment over time. So again, there's a lot going on there. It's not one and zeros like in computer science, data science. It's complicated. It's a lot more. We can still bring it down to exact science, but we cannot do it without this conversation. Just like even in the corporate world, you can't come up with solutions that are adaptive in nature, that will be competitive over time, without having discussions, without having constant conversations, so you can adjust with the times and the economy and the market where you find yourself. The problem with these young men is that they want to bring everything down to exact science right now in this moment. So before you say anything right now, they're going to go on Google and start to Google the dictionary meanings of words. Oh, words have meanings. And then they're confused when they're trying to communicate or do business or enter into a romantic relationship with another human being, and she's not able to to register what you're saying. Hence, you fail little in micro ways until eventually you end up in a divorce court, and then the system will drag your ass. Right? Your biggest fear, your nightmare, becomes reality. Even though you never signed the marriage certificate, nonetheless, you had sex, you had a baby. So now you're screwed all over again, right? And then he continues, says, not a boss chick. Okay, good. I agree. A large extent. If a woman is running around the social media street, I'm a boss chick, that's usually a sign that it's all kind of craziness. But again, men should not be overreacting to that, because sometimes it's just quote unquote a manifesting thing. It's not really that much of a big deal. It's not a big deal as much as you make it to be. And this kind of scenario will show up in marriage too, where things, it's not necessarily it's not as much a big deal you're making it out to be, but you can blow it out of proportion with the way you react to it. See, to every action there's reaction, or quote unquote resistance, and the resistance or the reaction attempt tends to want to outweigh the actual action, and then you now create an action or reaction again to try to overwhelm that, and then you have an effective chaos in your hands, and because you lack the ability to be able to react properly. Are we making sense here? All right, so let's keep going. He continues and says that I want her to be a stay-at-home wife. There's nothing wrong with that, right? She has to be able to meet that standard. Okay, what standard? Everything else we've been saying, right? Standard usually means I'm rigid, I can't adapt. That's what it means usually. It's not what you say, it's what is being interpreted, not only in words but also in vibes, in the next behavior, in resentment being built, right? She has to be able to cook. There's nothing wrong with that, right? But it tells me that if she happens to be able to cook, but then 2 months in she's a little tired, you'll probably have a hard time knowing how to react properly in the most profitable manner to that situation. You won't be able to handle that effective crisis that just presented itself to you. Oh, no, but Ola is always saying that, like, we know, of course we know this is, no, you don't. Your energy tells me you don't, okay? And I'll wait until you change the statistics, right? In terms of the divorce rate out there, in terms of how many women you have to run through before you can actually learn how to retain a woman, right? Without blaming it on modern women. There is no such thing as traditional women. Can we get that in your head? There is no such thing in 2022 as a traditional woman. She can pretend a little bit. She can try. She can try to be a traditional woman, right? But she's going to be a woman in the modern age. And that's the reality. And that reality is going to hit you in your face a bit too late if you keep running around looking for traditional women. There are some women that are for the streets that you don't need to go near. They're not wives. Those should be obvious to you. Not only should it be obvious to you, it should be obvious to your energy. They shouldn't be able to really spend that much time around you. Much less they drag you through having sex with them, having babies with them, and then you're dragged to what do you call it? Divorce court or child support court. We shouldn't be getting near that. And if we get near that, right, if for some reason life happens, right, there are also ways to respond to that, because that person is in your life. That is a relationship you have to keep nurturing. It's in your best interest for the rest of your life, regardless of how she operates. Because then, you hear things like, oh yeah, but some women just, they resentment, they just want to hurt you. Well, it's still a function of how you react to that, okay? Especially if you're the man. Or am I blaming men for everything? Interpretation. Slow down, relax, okay? That's blaming you for everything, that's giving you the tools, that's telling you where your leverage point is so you can engage your power, all right? You cannot play a victim and engage your power in the same breath. It doesn't work. Calm down, drink some water, relax. Let's keep going here. He goes, he has to be able to cook. I'm going to get a lot of benefits from this. I'm going to get benefits from this. That doesn't work in this time and age. Why? Because you're leading with what you want. That's a very quick way to fail, not just in romantic relationship, but in business. You have to lead with value. Let's keep going. I want to make sure that she's on that program. It's a give or take. It's not a give or take. Romantic relationship is about giving. It's about giving. If you're going to add anything onto that, is receiving, meaning that person willingly gives to you. If you have to force them to give to you, it's going to fail. It's not organic. It's going to fall flat on its face. Okay, let's keep going here. I want to make sure that she's on that program. She's give or take. It starts with the understanding that we ain't on the same level. We are not equal. Gender roles. We're not gender fluid. Okay. There's nothing wrong with everything is said, but I'm hearing fear. See, when you as a man lead with fear, meaning you're leading with all the defense mechanisms, right? If you're trying to play a game and all you're doing is playing defense, you will fail, you will lose, because there's a whole tournament going on. There's competition, there's a marketplace. It's not just you and the person that you're playing with at that point in time. You live in a world, a society with other people playing the same game. You will lose either your husband or your wife, right? To the marketplace. Why? Because there's competition and there's much more exposure to seeing it because of social media more than ever before. Are you going to complain about social media or adapt and learn the new skill set around operating in this new world? Or you're just going to complain and try to pull 1960 into the present? It's not going to work. It ain't going to work. Could it work? Okay, let's keep going here. We're not equal. Gender roles. And again, these are realities of things that are going on out there, and you are busy exhausting your energy on fighting against them. How much energy do you have left to play offense? Because that's the only way you're going to win. We need both defense, we need offense as well in this game called life, and especially relationships. But you're investing, I can hear it, like your throat, like the veins on your neck is popping out while you talk about all this defensive attitude about everything. It's not saying anything wrong. I'm just hearing defense, fear. I'm scared shitless about the life we're living right now, right? You're a female, I'm a male. If you're so sure about that, why do you need to spell this out so much? It sounds like there's no confidence there. That's what it sounds like, right? You're going to be of service to me and my family. He repeated that. Again, you're repeating something that you should be so sure about. And you're a man in this society. You're supposed to be a masculine man in this society. And you feel the need to repeat yourself over and over. If this form of communication is not working, maybe you should try something else. Maybe you should actually start paying attention to body language. Right? Maybe, right? Let's keep going. I'm going to be a leader of my household. Are you sure? Or are you not sure? Are you afraid that you may end up not being the leader of your household? Because let's address the fear. Like literally, I want you to be the leader of your household, but it's not by mouth. You have to lead by example, right? You have to exude that. If you have to yell at the top, and there are people doing it successfully still to today, regardless of your circle and all the noise about divorces that you may see all over social media, there are people doing it successfully, and they usually don't have to yell at the top of their lungs on how much they have to be a leader, right? I actually have standards. Are you sure? Are you sure you have standards? Because it sounds like you're not sure. Like you really need to tell us over and over. You need to convince yourself that you have standards, because your standards, your boundaries is something that people can feel. They just know they can't cross certain lines. You don't have to spell it out so much when it comes to romantic relationships, because feelings is king here, not facts. That's the reality. Okay, I'm not trying to get married for the sake of married. You shouldn't want to get married for the sake of getting married. Here's the news flash. No one does. Okay, no one does. There's some people that you may look at them and you may say, hey, they just want to get married. You may say, hey, women just want to get married because the wedding looked good. And at the end of the day, it takes a lot to go into that, right? They may be walking around with blindfolds on and not know what they don't know, but you're putting yourself on a pedestal. You're just like the rest of them, especially if you think textbook ideas is going to help you. Now, I may be contradicting myself because I'm about to give you some things that you may consider a textbook. But here's what I'm trying to do here. I want to spell out the nuances for you. Okay? I want to spell out the nuances for you. I want to try my best to bring out the nuances because it's not this simple. What's going on, my brother? Salute to you. All right, so let's keep going here. I got a couple more clips that I want to play, and then I'll get into the 7-point formula for a wife material. And for you ladies listening to me, it will be beneficial to you, so you can know exactly what to expect as well. So let's go into the second clip here.
This is where again, and AL, you know you're my bro, but I have to say this. When I'm speaking, I expect I'm speaking to intellectual men here. I expect I'm speaking to men who are actually smart enough to understand the point I'm making. It's not about a fucking...
All right, so I hear unrealistic expectations, okay? I know, he didn't say anything about unrealistic expectations. He didn't say anything about his expectations. He did say he expects that he's speaking to intellectual. Basically, he's assuming that everyone else listening, just because they're not interpreting the way he interpreted what he's saying out, he's assuming that they're not as intellectual. Well, it's not just that. Intellect's in the mud. Intellectual diarrhea is a real thing. I've been saying that lately. There's some people, they're extremely smart. They can speak the English, King's English, Queen's English, all over the place. And then when it comes down to real life, there's nothing there, okay? Real life involves a whole lot more than your intellectual energy, than your intelligence, your IQ, intellectual quotient, right? You will need EQ, emotional quotient, emotional intelligence. That means you're responsible for the emotions you create around you. In fact, maybe you're not responsible, but it's in your best interest to be concerned about the emotions that your words are creating around you, because they will end up being your liability if you're not careful, or an asset. How many times have you heard that people, if they feel good around you, they'll do anything for you, right? You'll create better results in life. So again, this putting yourself on a pedestal because you're more intellectual is a very quick way to fail in life, even in business, because humans are humans at the end of the day, like no matter how intelligent they are. So again, I'm hearing the same thing. Unrealistic expectations. This is going to show up in marriage. It's going to show up from a blind spot. It's not going to come from all the books you read or all the case studies you've read. Okay, so being silent sometimes is the only solution. Relaxing to make sure you understand what's going on is going to be the only solution, especially as a man. Okay, because that shit test is going to be real. Okay, so again, I hear unrealistic expectation. I expect, because what they asked him a follow-up question to all the nonsense rhetorics he gave is standard. That's basically still not tested. The standards are not tested in real life, okay? There's no anyone that's been married for more than 10 years, including the lead attorney who is divorced, because I'm giving him some props right now, right? That will listen to that stupid nonsense and will tell you, you need to slow down. You need to slow down. Anyone with experience, and you will see that in a second here, will call out that real simp that's inside that place, okay? Let's keep going. I'm going to go to the next one. Let's keep going.
Okay,
Bro, we don't need to
we
be
have
quiet.
the data. We have the data, and whether we like it or not, it shows a certain
You misquoted the
pattern.
data.
So
You misquoted.
There you go. So he has some kind of data, facts, statistics that they all tend to quote, right? But another gentleman on the panel, who is probably just like him, right, is calling it out and say, hey, you're misquoting the data. Again, your data quotes are they have to be subjected to testing. What does that testing look like? People will interpret it how they interpret based on their filters, where they're coming from. And if you don't have room for that, are you really that intelligent? Let's ask that question. If you don't have room for that, you don't have patience for that, or you're not able to calm down and see how they interpret, or you don't even bring any interpretation in the first place because you assume data are just data. They don't lie. Data do lie. Why? Because we lie to ourselves, right? Not intentionally, because I don't want to call it a lie, but we have filters. We all put our best foot forward. These are some of the things you have to consider when you're going into a marriage, building a lifetime partnership with a person. Let's not fool ourselves. Don't put yourself on that pedestal. You will fall flat on your face 100% of the time. Let's go on to the next one.
Liability, she's supposed to be an asset.
Women by
Not supposed to be a liability, she's supposed to be an asset.
So we have Angry Man, the Angry Man, who's another YouTuber, on this panel, and they're talking about women being liability or assets. So let's listen to it.
women by default are liabilities. I'm sorry, sir. I can be an asset to
So why would
you.
somebody?
So that's a woman admitting that I'm a liability. Everything is wrong with that. Everything is wrong with that, okay? But I'll tell you the source of that. She didn't just come up with that. She's actually trying to pander to the same stupid talking points all over the place, okay? She's trying to do that. Natural, again, we all put our best foot forward. If we're trying to have a conversation, I want you to feel good about what I'm saying, and back and forth. We all pander to an extent. We just don't want to overdo it to the point that we don't produce any, But when you are, I don't even like using the word pandering, right? But the bottom line is that you've called her a liability so much, she's saying, okay, nigga, don't you understand that there's some kind of price to pay if you want a woman? That's what she's trying to say. But all the gentlemen on this panel were not able to pick that up. Because why? Because she wasn't using verbatim literal words that a man can translate. See, the unrealistic expectations are real. This is what creates arguments in a marriage. Okay? Because you said one thing. Well, I didn't really hear what you said. Because I wasn't listening to understand. I wasn't listening. I was listening to respond because I already made up my mind what I wanted to say. This is the reality. This is the See, when men say, no, women don't like to face it. No. This is the reality that you're not willing to face. The reality is that human beings have to interpret with their filters. All right? Let's see here. I hope the young man gets to hear this analysis because it's spot on. Thank you, Awa. Yeah, I hope so too. We're working on it. We'll work on the promotion to make sure, I've been lazy with going on the panels, which is another way to promote, So I'm not lazy, I'm busy. Not lazy, busy, But we'll get there. Let's keep going. At least we're building the library, right? All right, so let's keep going here.
Why would somebody do that? Why would somebody buy?
To you, but
No.
I am a
Are
liability.
you for
So
marriage?
based on that thought process, why would somebody do that?
A woman can be
That
an
is
asset.
incorrect. A woman is not. Women have become liabilities, but you're not.
Women have not become liability. The angry man is wrong. Okay? A woman is just a woman. It's just that simple. A man, just like a man is a man. Now, a man can be an asset or be a liability. A woman can be an asset or be a liability, depending on for who and for what goal exactly. What is the objective? Why are we talking about assets and liability without talking about what the objective is? And if we're talking about the objective, is it defined the same across board? Is your idea of marriage my idea of marriage? Are you talking about the idea of marriage in 1960 and 50? Or we're talking about 2022? Are you delusional? Or am I delusional? Which one of it? We cannot talk about if somebody's an asset or liability without talking about what exactly profitability means to you or I. The idea of profitability, see, when you talk about asset or liability, is net. In the net grand scheme of things, do you add to my life? That's an asset. In the net grand scheme of things, do you take away from me? Are you draining the shit out of me? That's a liability. So the idea of just calling women blanket liability is already a failed on arrival, right? I can't take anything you have to say after that serious. But I will still listen. Let's see. But maybe I need to be patient myself, right? There you go.
To be a liability.
Exactly.
That's the
A woman
problem.
can
Right.
be an asset.
Is The problem is,
But we're forgetting where she got that from. She's heard enough rhetorics to see that you're complaining about the nature of women in this time and age. So she said, okay, fuck it. I'm a liability. She was trying to get you straight to the bottom line because you guys are trying to drive women to understand bottom line without going through process. This shows up in marriage. Okay? Men will say, hey, I could see the solution right now. We don't have to cry about it. But she needs to cry, go through that process. And you don't understand that. And you lack patience to understand that. And you're going to be like, she's an adult. She should be able to like, no, but it's not relevant. She's in a romantic relationship with you. Right? So no, all that adult childhood nonsense goes right out the window because you become a child too the moment you put your shit inside a woman. Because if you were really being an adult, right? You'll be like, oh, adult in your idea is like, nah, if it's just risky, don't do it. That's your idea. But the reality is in real life, as an adult, we take risk. Even though there's no guarantee that we won't die in the middle of taking that risk. We're still going to talk about that.
the problem is the modern woman has a misconception of her role.
That's false. The modern man has unrealistic expectations of modern women. They are actively, right now, as we speak, trying to extract quote-unquote traditional out of modern women. Modern women are everywhere. They're growing in leaps, meaning they have options, they have choices, they can protect themselves physically, they can provide for themselves physically, financially, but they still can't do so emotionally. All right. That's why they get into romantic relationships, because they want to be able to cry on your shoulder and not feel judged, or to become an adult by force, whatever adult means, right? Just because she's been a woman in a romantic relationship. Does that mean you have to carry all the weight? No. The point actually is stop trying to carry weight. That's actually the point. Face reality. Learn how to leverage what is in your favor as opposed to actively trying to push against what is the reality. The reality right now is that the modern women are the only thing available. And if anybody present themselves as traditional women, that's a setup. That's a setup for unrealistic expectations. The number one killer of relationships and marriage right now, not finance or infidelity, is unrealistic expectations based on my studies. I'll continue to explain that to you. You can go to Google and pull your nonsense about infidelity and finance, but I'm telling you, it's unrealistic expectations. Okay? Let's keep going.
Not supposed to be a liability. When if you want to take it to the religious aspect of it, the woman is supposed to be a helpmeet for a man. She's not supposed to be a liability.
She knew that, but you convinced that she's a liability. But you're not hearing that, of course, because she didn't say it verbatim out. You need her to say that like a man will say. Of course, but eventually, guess what's going to happen? The woman is going to come up with a solution, sadly. And I hate seeing that. It's a sentiment, okay? I don't mean any harm. I don't mean any disrespect to women. But I don't like when women have to come up with a solution for men. That's not how this world was built, okay? Why? Because we're disconnected from emotional intelligence. We think everything is fact over feeling. Wrong. It's feelings over fact. It's feelings over fact. That's the reality. That's why you're fighting tooth and nail and it's not working. You have zero respect for feelings. And people don't care about anything outside of their feelings. They don't care about your stupid facts. They feel how they feel, including you, including myself right now. Right?
When I say liability, I mean that it costs you to be with us. Your resources, your ass is on the line. You are responsible of us. So technically, I am a liability to you. Now, can I be an asset to you as a help me or a helpmate? Yes, but I am a liability.
It is not supposed to be.
Anyone can be a liability to you. Everyone look like a liability to you. If you see all women as liability and you don't use the word, she will start seeing herself as liability. You beat her down. You think she's not smart enough to be, that she doesn't have her own agency. She was like, okay, maybe I'm not good enough, right? And now she used the word, and now you're pushing against it because it's way too far to the other extreme, right? But they're both kind of saying the same thing right now, maybe, right?
That way, you are not supposed to be a liability for a man. You're not supposed to cost a man, because at the end of the day, when two people get together, Whatever you do is supposed to bring some sort of benefit to the situation.
It still does. There are people that still get it right. And I think Angry Man is also alluding to he gets it right now. But he's helping all of these young men paint the whole world black, and it's not. There are just skill sets involved. And gentlemen, you need to learn the skill set, or else you will keep falling flat on your face. The more you point fingers at women, the more you fail. Because they're a function of the men. They're not woo-woo. They are women. Okay? They follow our lead. For the most part. Majority of the time. And it's still very true. Yes, including the modern women. Okay? And no, I'm not talking about no IG model. Oh, everybody in your circle. I understand 100% of the people in your circle are for the streets. That's you. That's still a function of, that's your shadow. And if you don't learn how to change that, it will keep following you all around. Let's go to the next one.
It was about yesterday on a clip that was posted when we're talking about men and women. You're supposed to be a liability before. I mean, you're supposed to be an asset before he marries your ass.
False. You're supposed to see her as an asset before you marry. She may not be whatever the stupid ideologies or standards you've set in place is. But you may just be seen an asset. Just your perception could be an asset. The gentleman right next door may say, nah, that's for the streets. You may be seen an asset. You could be all wrong. Just like, hey, you know, we want to claim Michael B. Jordan is wrong now, right? But it's perception. You're putting yourself on a pedestal thinking that when it comes to a romantic relationship, you're that intentional. You're not. You fell in love. You're a simp. Right? And now that you're not getting reciprocation, suddenly you're seeing that modern women are not what they should be. They're not like our mothers. They've never been like your mothers. It's a different generation altogether. It's a new world. And what men do is they figure it out and they create the result they're still looking for. Whatever that looks like, a cook, clean, whatever. You can still create that. There are people doing it. There are people doing it right now. It has nothing to do with your looks. It has nothing to do with any of those stuff. In the grand scheme of things. There's some exception. You know, maybe you're short, fat, and ugly, and you feel like you can never do it. That's a different ballgame altogether. We can help you with how to overcompensate for that. Let's keep going.
Exactly. Yep.
You're not supposed to be a liability and then when you get married, figure out how you're going to be an asset. The whole reason that he's supposed to find...
A healthy woman is not supposed to feel like a liability. But when you hang out in these spaces way too much, you start to feel like somebody is calling you a cost to lend. You say, hey, the reality is that you have to pay something. There's a cost to be with me. That's what she was trying to say. But then, of course, because she's a woman, that goes way over their head. And now they're defending the semantics of asset and liabilities. We all know what assets and liabilities mean. You can Google that. But in this context, it's completely up to a man. If she's not an asset, why are you with her? And if you got with her by mistake, you saw her as an asset, but she ended up being a liability, why don't you just leave? You have that option. You have that agency at any point in time. Oh, I know why you didn't leave. You're in love. You're hoping. You have the opium. Guess whose fault that is? I don't like using the word fault. But that's still on you, bro. That's still on you. There's no guns to your head to stay in a situation you don't want to stay in. You always have that agency of how you move and what you stay in. And you have options. If you don't see that you have options, that's still on you. That's your own self-esteem. That we can work on, by the way.
You favorable, the entire reason a man, and if you talk about it from the traditional sense, the entire reason a man traditionally spends 3 months of his income on a engagement ring is because you're supposed to be worthy of all of that. And the thing that
so we're overbeating that. Yeah, she wasn't trying to say she's a liability. She was trying to pander to the stupid talking points, and she went to a bottom line. You forced a woman to a bottom line, is chaos. Because a woman, basically, a typical woman needs to go through a process. It's the way it is. They talk it out. They take their time. If you don't have the time, say, hey, babe, let's get back to that. I got to handle this meeting. I'll come back to that. Until she feels heard, right? This is the reality of it, okay? It doesn't matter if you're in a divorce court, if it's your ex-wife or anything, you still have to do this. You have to do it with your mother. It's just the way it is, Okay, that's the reality. And the more you try to change reality into your stupid 1962 virtual reality, the worse it gets for you. It's not going to work out because it's not reality. Okay, you can avoid reality, you cannot avoid the consequences of avoiding reality. Let's go on to the next one.
None of y'all married anyway, so I don't care.
Boom. She said, none of you married anyway, so I don't care. That's what you attract from a woman. Okay? That's what you end up attracting. You lose respect. This is an example on a show, but in real life, in a marriage, you get to a point where she shut down and she like, you just lost a little respect right there. Right? How? Because the way you move. The way you move, you don't understand your position as a king. Okay? You're arguing semantics with your wife. Oh no, but use your words. We said who was gonna communicate. Well, you just had communication right now. It didn't work out. So it wasn't effective. Who do you blame? Yourself and her. Because you're both in the same boat. The moment you use the idea of right and wrong, you both fail. If you make her right, even if it's not right on paper, you're both right. And then she may come back and say, you know what, you were right about that. Why? Because you made her feel better about the fact that she was wrong. You see, it's not as simple as you thought it was. Right?
That's fine. Who ain't?
Yeah, see, that's the thing. She could, and she only 23. So in a couple years, what she gonna do is switch that attitude, make it seem like she believe, I'm an asset, and somebody they gonna wife her because she beautiful.
Shout out to Esso for making that point. Somebody's gonna wife her because she's beautiful. What does beautiful represent to that other man? An asset. Is this stupid? Is it wrong? That's your opinion. But most people, that's what they're gonna do. They're gonna fall in love with the looks of a person, her shape, what she looks like physically, how she makes you feel in that moment in time when she's feeling good. What about once you get into the relationship when shit changes, right? Real life. We call it sea finish in Nigeria. When basically complacency enters, right? What are you going to do at that point in time? It's inevitable. It's going to happen. What are you going to do at that point in time? But now in this moment, somebody sees us as beautiful. That represents an asset because you see beautiful, it makes you feel good. That means it added to your experience in that moment in time. You see it as an asset. Right? And then somebody will wipe out. That is a fact. And that's the reality of what's going on out here. No matter how much you try to paint this to be some exact science, you will fall in love and do stupid shit sometimes.
What's going to happen is...
The reason why I'm saying is because awareness is half the battle won. That's why I'm sharing it with you. I'm not saying you shouldn't prepare as much as you can. I'm just saying part of preparing is don't put yourself on a pedestal. Part of preparing is humility. Humility in all ramifications. I don't care how many books you've read. Humble yourself if you haven't entered the actual experience.
They're going to find out later.
She's 23?
Hey, they're going to find out later.
She's 23?
I'm an asset. I'm definitely an asset. Y'all.
Oh, now she's telling you, how she really feels. She was trying to help you out, but it didn't work. You ended up in another argument on semantics.
I don't understand. I'm up here just basically letting y'all know that by nature, by the low-bearing bar, women are liabilities. Y'all don't know
People love to use
by nature.
Yeah, it's a field. Let's go on to the
bring
next
it in
one.
the second liability. No, wait a minute. Hold on, Solo. Let me.
I play this because of that question from Solo. Solo is another man who is actively trying to recruit people to not want marriage. I mean, if you're so sure you don't want marriage, why are you trying to recruit people? I'm not saying your words. Your actions tells me you're actively recruiting people. If people that don't want marriage, they don't talk about marriage. They just don't, okay? If you're actively arguing on social media about how much you don't want marriage, you need to convince yourself that you don't want marriage, okay? But let's play the question again.
So you cool with your husband bringing in the second liability? No, wait a minute. Hold on, Solo.
He says, so you could, with your husband, accept a second liability? Something like that, he's actively sending a shit test question at the women. We expect women to do that, not men, okay? But it's okay. It's I guess that's the generation we're in right now. Men are shit testing women. What do you bring to the table? Oh God.
So you cool with your husband bringing in a second liability?
So you cool with your husband bringing a second liability?
No, wait a minute. Hold on, Solo. Let me address this because she still doesn't.
No. Angry man. Be quiet. Let's hear the answer.
Let me address this because she still doesn't.
If he can afford her,
She said if you can't afford her, she doesn't really feel that way. She's giving you the answer that you want. She know like your questions tell us where you're going already. So she gives you the answer you're looking for. That's gonna happen a lot in marriages. If you're a type of guy who just like, oh, a lot of you, that's a question. Give me a yes or no first. If that's how you move in a romantic relationship, she's gonna give you the answer you want, but it's not the real answer. It's not the real answer. What do you bring to the table? She's gonna tell you exactly what you want to hear. That's not the real answer. The real answer is once you get into marriage. Once life presents itself, the real shit test from life, when it comes up, that's when the real answer will present itself, right? In the midst of like people's insecurity do not rise to the surface. The insecurities do not rise to the surface until you're placed within certain context. You have to be within certain context for the insecurity to rise to the surface. Insecurities don't rise to the surface when people are feeling good and having a good time. Imagine people on the beach, right, just having a good time, sangria over here, margarita over here, but it's drinking, they're eating, whatever, all those nice stuff, right? The insecurities, that's not the moment insecurities will come up. The insecurities will come up when there's crisis, when there's conflict. Then you'll find out for the first time the real trauma that people have gone through, even early as 6, 7, 9, 2 years old, right? Then you start to unpack all of that. And you're like, oh yeah, she changed on me. No, she did not. She did not. It's just life. Are you prepared for that? So again, if you get in this business of throwing shit test questions at women, a yes or no question, she's going to give you the answer you want. Or questions that are closed-ended, like what do you bring to the table? She's heard you enough on this YouTube street. She will probably come up with a list. Women come up with better lists than us. You see that list that JB brought up earlier? Men don't do that, okay? Men don't. We don't have time for that. We don't create lists of what kind of women we want, okay? A woman, I see her, I feel like she belongs in my kingdom as my queen, okay? I made up my mind right now, and I'm gonna go there with all type of boldness, confidence, say, hey, you belong in my castle, you belong in my empire as my queen, or as one of my queens, right? That's how it goes down. I don't go there and say, these are the list of things you have to do. No. If she can't handle those things, she'll be ejected anyway. I don't have to say all those things to the kind of woman I will attract. If you have to spell those things out, tells me you're being the woman. It's gonna backfire, I promise you. His preferences. What's wrong with preferences? I didn't say anything was wrong with preferences. I am reading your energy. It's going to backfire, I promise you. Okay, it's not even a threat. It's a promise. Okay, it's a promise. Okay, I'll wait. After 10 years in marriage, let's talk about it again. Not 2 years, not 3 years. I don't want to talk to your ass in 5 years marriage. Fuck that. 10 years, okay? Let's talk. Okay? Let's talk about it again. All right?
Wait a minute. She still doesn't get it. She's not understanding. So let me.
She's not designed to get it. Stop. I'm going to stop it, actually, myself. Let me see here. Most of these men don't have kingdoms. They are the peasants. That's because they choose not to have kingdoms. My kingdom is my little 1-bedroom apartment. That could be my kingdom. I pay for it. That's my kingdom. But again, it's all mindset. You're kind of right because it's mindset, right? If I'm 22 years old and I'm coming right out of college, I got a 2-bedroom apartment. That's my kingdom. I get to choose what girl comes over there, right? To come hang out with me. Naturally, if I'm cooking, she wants to participate. Naturally. There's some exception. She doesn't want to cook. She's not a cooker. She will let you know up front, I don't like cooking. And then if you still stay in it and you know that that's not something that you like, that's still on you, bro. That's still on you. They are like peasants. I see what you mean. I didn't say all that, Awa. You said that. Yeah, what's going on, J Bones? What's going on, J Bones? Let's go on to the next one. Let's move on.
In a tangible way. We are assets to you guys in an intangible way, is what I'm saying. And
Boom! Again, she had to come up with the solutions. I hate that. When a lot of these men, including the angry men, are talking because he's trying to advocate for what men are complaining about. Like, listen, I'm advocating for you. Even better than angry men, because I'm telling you your blind spot. Your blind spot is the intangibles. Why did she have to come up with that? I don't like that. Men, we need to step it up. We need to understand that there are intangibles. Things that you can't necessarily read in a book. How do you find them? By having the experience, by preparing yourself for an experience, by being adaptive in the world that's ever changing. The only constant in life is change. See, as the feminine energy is delusional, that everything stays the same. They just want to rest and enjoy life, no responsibility. The masculine energy understand that, wait, no, that's not a reality. The only thing that's constant is change. We're not bringing 1960 women back to 2022. It's just not going to happen. There's no such thing as traditional women. When somebody says I'm traditional woman, I smell pick me. I'm sorry. You don't have to say that out. If you have traditional values, I will see that in your action. If you have to say it, you're putting too much energy in talking than doing. Of course, gentlemen, we don't realize that. That's why you're getting set up. Okay? You're getting set up because deep down, you're a simp and you know this. And you're fighting actively to push this guy out, right?
one of the biggest arguments up here for not wanting to be married is because she can take half or she can take your finances. It's about the money. And what I'm saying is we are a liability.
See? Now she's telling them what it is. You keep talking to us about money. She just wants your money. You keep saying that. She's going to say, okay, all right, dude, I'm a liability. What the fuck? Right? And then you engage that argument like with semantics. No, but you're supposed to be an asset. Like, you don't think she knows that? It's crazy, man.
To y'all, because if y'all are caring for us in the confines of a marriage, and I'm pouring back into my man. When I came up here, I said I cook, I clean, I rub your feet. I'll make sure that I'm in a servitude position. But I can't.
They can't even detect when she's trying to banter or she's throwing some sarcasm in there. A little condescension is a freaking panel, right? They couldn't detect it. They engaged the semantic argument or semantical argument. How should I call it, right? They lost it. I mean, this conversation went on for hours because basically I slept, I woke up, they were still on it.
Can't pour back what he's poured into me the
Everything
same way.
you just
That's why I'm a liability.
hold on. Let me ask you this question.
Yeah. Let's go on to the next one. Let me go to the next one here. Almost there. We got 2 more to go through, and then I'll give you the 7 pointers, okay?
You are not getting their point. A woman can be an asset for 15 years, and after alimony be a liability for 20, 30.
So another man who brought in the focus on the negative potential downside of a marriage. A woman can be an asset for 15 years and become a liability for the next 15 years. He's talking about divorce, child support, right? He brings in, again, defense mechanisms. All you're focused on is defense. What about the offense? What about things I'm going to do to win in the game of marriage? How do you expect to win in any game if you're not playing both defense and offense? If all you're doing is prenup, that doesn't protect you, bro. It doesn't. It protects you financially, but you can get money again. You can lose money, you can get money again. Here's what you can get back again. What a lot of people cannot get back again. Emotional damages. If you emotional damage another human being, oh, she's going to drag your ass through the mud. It doesn't matter if you signed a marriage certificate or not. Right? The forces are against you in that moment in time. Why? Because you lack emotional intelligence. You lack game. You are lame.
Live till the day you die. That's the thing. You might be an asset, give me a kid, take care of everything in 3-4 years, and then you get child support for 8.
There you go. How do you approach marriage by talking about child support? You're not going to win. You might as well stay away from marriage. Okay? I mean, if you're talking about just child support only, right? If this woman is making you feel, this woman that you just got with, she's making you smell child support. What normal people is about to marry a person and the dominating thoughts in your head is child support? In the name of, I'm just trying to be careful, make sure I don't lose my... What are you talking about? You see the problem in this dating scene right now? Is it obvious to us? It's getting obvious, right? It's getting obvious, right? So again, another situation right there. Let me play the last but not the least one. This is the real problem here, and I'm going to give you the solution, okay? This right here, one of them called out the real problem here, and he called it, and it was so profound, and they are all guilty of it. He called it, but they're all of them, every single person on this panel, except Aaron. I'm going to give Aaron a pass, because he didn't say shit throughout this. And that tells me a lot. If a man is this patient and didn't say anything throughout this whole thing, that tells me a lot. That's a massive skill set that will be extremely useful in marriage. That clearly the rest of them, majority of them, I should say, they lacked. There's some of them that were faceless there, you know. But let me play this for you real quick, and let's get into the meat.
You have a deep down in.
Let me play it again.
You have a.
It's a JD. He mentioned it. Is it JD or JB? JB. You have a. Let's listen to that.
You have a deep down inside of you. You have a simp that's trying to claw his way to the top.
I don't think that's fair.
No, it depends on the woman.
He's calling Anakin the simp.
He called it the angry man, but the same thing goes for him. Okay, even inside of him. Okay, every single one of them. I'll give Aaron the pass. I've listened to him a few times. He's balanced. Okay. But majority of people in this space, I'll be honest with you, deep down inside of them, they have a simp that's just trying to crawl out like that, right? What is a simp in this context? Because there's like 33,000 different definitions. It's a man that has unrealistic expectations of a woman. Ultimately, that's what it is. They are basically manipulative. They think they are perfect, so they deserve. It's entitlement, okay? They the fact that there's no guarantee, life is never enough for them. They are men. We understand. We get out there. We put ourselves on the line. We defeat, not because there was guarantees. Just again, that's what men do. We go out there. We put ourselves at risk, and we'll build. We don't expect Mother Nature to protect you 100% of the time. You understand that two deaths in life is taxes and death, literally. That's what men understand, right? So the idea I'm going to protect myself until I shoot myself on the legs that I can't even move. It's called paralysis by analysis. You overanalyze everything. You're not even willing to take a risk to really enjoy life and love. You miss out on life and love because you're actively using your cerebral organs to calculate everything. That's how you lose in life. Even in business, at some point, you have to pull that trigger. You have to make a move of faith. This thing that we call romance, either we're talking about dating, relationship, marriage, for the most part, is a move of faith. You're not going to calculate your way into success in it. It's just not going to happen. Why? Because there's another human being involved. And you're spending this limited amount of resources and energy. You're wasting all of it on defense. You're not playing the game. You're missing out on life and love. Why? Because somebody has a terrible experience on the other side of the street. So now you project that into the rest of your life, and then you're scared shitless. Precisely the opposite of being a man. So let's get into it. A couple of things I want to fly through this, just to give you something to go back home today with, and really ponder upon, the ultimate 7 points formula. Okay, a friend, the homie. Okay, that's everything. Okay, why? Because you're gonna need a lot of grace. Okay, you yourself, you're going to need lots of grace. Okay, the person that will tend to give you grace all the time, overdo it, is a friend. Not anything else. Not even a romantic lover. Okay, a friend, somebody who feels like they're the homie. They can't wait to hook you up with another slack. They cut you slacks even when you fuck up. When you learn that first, you will naturally attract that from the other person. When you give that, you will attract it. Okay? Now, you have to be careful, because sometimes as men, we get complacent, and then we start treating our women like the homie, and actually she would like to be a lover. She would like to, that butterflies in her head, like the feelings of, the fantasies, the Romeo and Juliet, the same shit you're trying to beat down. That feeling in her head is part of what makes her who she is. The fantasies, even if it's not real, right? She still wants to feel that. So that's why I want to say, be careful with number one, the friend, the homie. Again, like anything else, like water. You do too much of it can kill you. It can destroy you, right? Number two, a life partner, the CEO. They are actually the most active when it comes to keeping everything together. You being the chairman, okay? Meaning she feels safe. She feels secure. She can fall back on you if anything fails. She understands. You don't have to tell her. If you have to tell her, you picked the wrong woman anyway. She gets it. Not only does she get it because she was raised that way, also you earned it 100% of the time. You earn it. Listen, it doesn't. If it looks like you fall out of the skies in the beginning, you're gonna lose the respect and have to rebuild all over it again anyway. Just wait 2-3 years into the marriage. You're gonna find out, hey, she doesn't respect me the same way again. I have to work a little bit harder to really build the element of this stuff, and then that lasts for a lifetime. If you're lucky, like myself, I've been doing this for 15 years. Okay. But there was skill set involved, but some luck were involved as well. Because no matter how perfect you are, sometimes, again, there are two human beings involved. Sometimes it's okay to say this is not meant to be. That's part of being a man. We fail a lot more than the number of successes we create. The overall, we're successful, but there's a lot more failure. That's real life. How do you expect marriage to be different? I don't understand. Again, unrealistic expectations. Number three, a lover. Stop the cap. Romance is involved. Stop trying to overcalculate everything. You fell in love. You still want to be in love. Oh yeah, if you don't, she still want to be in love. Fuck all that shit about the rules, the standard, all that stuff. She needs to feel safe and secure around you and fantasize about the idea that you are the ultimate lover in the world. It's just what it is. That's the reality. Stop trying to beat that down. Women just want to be romantic. They just want to be happy in a marriage. Motherfucker, that's a reality though. What are you going to do about it? Complain? Anyway, let's keep going. Number four, an asset. We're talking about net. It doesn't mean tomorrow you're not going to have to pour into her, right? If you have to pour into her a few times and then you say, oh, no, she's a liability. She's just stressing my life. You're not ready for marriage. There's nothing in life that's worthwhile that sometimes you don't have to sow seed in order to harvest. Think about real estate for a second. In the best locations in the world, you have to pay taxes. Why? Because there's cost to everything, including assets. That's what she was trying to say. Why did it take so long and an active argument to understand that? I don't understand. You see why people struggle in marriage, right? Yes, she's an asset, but we're talking about net. That means you cannot use one event or one moment to determine if she's an asset or a liability. It doesn't work like that. Overall, across experience, over time, does this add on to my life? Then you can say, hey, this was an asset or this was a liability. Does it take time to find out sometimes that it's a liability? Yeah. Is that what you want to hear? Yes, that's the reality. Sometimes you've wasted time. But again, it's never too late to change, to make a move and say, hey, this was a liability. I'm disconnecting this. What does that look like in real life? People get foreclosed on. People file bankruptcy because they say, hey, let me cut my losses. That doesn't mean they're not going to win in life overall, right? Your unrealistic expectation is the problem here. Not infidelity, not finance. Those things are real, but they are symptoms of other issues. Okay? Number 5, alliance, no demands. You don't have to demand this as a king, okay? If you understand your role as a king, you don't demand this, okay? You don't demand this. Sometimes, there's some exceptions where you say, no, don't do it that way, all right? But again, you usually have to say that once, at most 3 times. If you have to say in words more than 3 times, we need to turn around and convince yourself that you're a king, because clearly you're not convinced, all right? You're lacking confidence. And it's showing in your behavior, and you're attracting what you're attracting because of that. Okay? Aligns with your lifestyle and your program. Alignment, not demanding that you have to align. No. If you have to demand that, She'll pretend, she'll give you what you want if she wants you bad enough, and then the true colors will show up later on, and then you're fucked. All right. Number 6. Not necessarily wife material to others. You're a whole man, right? What, like, since when did we have men start to really, really be overly concerned about what other men are up to? I guess the picture we paint is that, oh yeah, but we need to be worried about what other men are up to because our society, our community. You're full of shit. That's a cap. You know you don't care about community. This is yourself. You're complaining about you not creating the results you want. And now you want to flip it into our community. No, let's make sure that you're good first. Put your own mask first on. Okay? Your wife material is not necessarily wife material to another person. Okay, I have a video that I'm going to release later on today where I was talking to some young men from my church. It was a mentoring session. You will hear just my voice. And I cut my voice out. And basically, it was a response to people's concern about body count. You overstress yourself over body count. That tells me that you lack discernment principles. That means you are pouring from an empty cup. You're not able to discern. You need exact numbers. You're lame. Like I said earlier, right? You're playing defense only. And that's why you fail. That's why that's why you're a loser, not you. But if you've been doing it, it's time to fix it. Because again, whatever you did in the past is just the past, right? Number 7, response to your love language with respect. She responds to your love language with respect, right? There's some chicks that just, your particular love language, they don't respect, they're disconnected. Now you will need to know what your love language is. You need to understand to know if somebody is responding to it, to know how to adjust accordingly. And also you need to understand the principles of sowing in order to receive, sowing in order to harvest. You can't reap where you don't sow, right? You need to understand that, right? Before we can even get too much into this. But if you've understood all of those, right? She responds to your love language with respect. If you're a typical man, you crave for respect. If you start to feel like you're not receiving respect, everything is going to fall apart. If you're a typical man, I'm not talking about the bare minimum respect we give to strangers on the street that we give to our boss. I'm talking about the respect you feel when you feel like this woman that I am romantically in love with, she looks up to me, I'm in love with her too. That respect is what I'm talking about. It's different types of respect. I'm not talking about the stupid respect that women that also want to pander to you will come back and say, hey, I want respect too. I'm not talking about that kind of respect. I'm talking about the respect that a man naturally crave because of the social construct that we live in. I'm not talking about the respect that a woman asks for after she's been cheated on by multiple people. Of course, she's going to want respect. That's not what I'm talking about, right? She responds to your love language with respect. That right there are several points that if you have, you should consider her a wife material for yourself. She may not necessarily be a wife material to other people. I got a few bonus pointers that are not necessarily but will help you in understanding this a little bit better. None of this guarantees a good marriage in the future. Okay, just because she's an asset right now does not mean you guys are gonna create good marriage in the future. And you really should not be looking for that. You should learn how to experience now and make the most. People that learn how to make the most out of the present, make the most, create the best experience with the present, are the ones that tend to end up in a good marriage. Go figure, right? All right. So don't be obsessed with the past. Don't be overly obsessed with the future. Learn how to make the most out of what you have right now, which is this moment. Okay? If you're able to do that, all will be well. Number 1 cause of divorce based on my personal studies is unrealistic expectations. I just wanted to make sure you heard that earlier, right? Number 3, the scope of responsibility and roles of the relationship is partially adaptive. There's some things that we expect of a husband and wife. We get that. The Proverbs 31, all that nonsense, right? The scripture is not nonsense, but you get what I mean, right? It's not 100% predictive. If you think all of this is 100% predictive, you're lame and you're going to fall flat on your face. You need to be adaptive. You need to be thinking of this as adaptive. That's why I ask you to learn the skills of conflict resolution and learn the skills of crisis resolution. Your worst nightmare will show up in a way that you couldn't see it coming. That's called life. It's not about marriage. It's just called life. And if you're in a marriage, it will feel like marriage. And if you're not skilled, the people you would tend to point fingers at will be the person that sleeps with you, the person you're having sex with, because you've had all this series of resentments because of other issues, just because you live together, okay? And if you're not skillful, you're going to destroy your marriage and your relationship with your own hands because of overreaction, right? All right, let's keep going here. Number 4, you as a leader, a masculine man in 2022 have to be adaptive. We're not in 1962. Stop it altogether. Stop asking for traditional women. If you're asking for traditional women, nothing spells out a weak man for me. Okay? More than that. Nothing spells out a weak man for me more than that. Okay? I just have to wait a little bit longer. You'll confirm that sooner or later. Okay? And how am I going to confirm that? The result you're creating. I'm not going to just listen to your rhetorics and the way you argue or sit down on a panel and argue with you. I'm going to look at your results. The results you're creating. Results don't lie. Okay? And over time, I'll be fair. I'll wait 10 years. Okay? 5, whatever you mean by love must be a sense of freedom. Whatever the heck you mean by love must be accompanied by a sense of freedom. You have to love in a way that the other person feels free. If you're actively arguing against happiness in a marriage, it tells me a lot more than that idea than that, right? Like, it's not that you're wrong, but there's a reason why you're actively fighting against happiness. What's wrong with being happy? What is wrong with you being happy in a marriage? Shout out to the TLA for that video yesterday. What is wrong with you being happy in a marriage? Right? Because again, if you go into a marriage, men do this a lot. You go into a marriage with duty and responsibility only. You would tend to project that on the other person. And you're not going to be wrong. You will create a wrong outcome, a bad outcome. I tell you that much, because people only give a shit about their feelings. Telling you, including those that are quoting the facts and the statistics and the data. Number 6, you can't pour love from an empty car. Stop the cap, okay? Duty and responsibility, stop the cap. Get yourself off of that pedestal. You're human like the rest of us, okay? You need to acknowledge that in order to create the result you're looking for. The chaotic nature of the beautiful feminine mother nature, you need to acknowledge that first so you can learn how to navigate it and create the result you're looking for. Number 7, duty and responsibility are overrated. Value is king. Value is king. People respond to pain, pleasure, relief. Value, okay? Not your stupid rules that is not connected to value. If you don't have the skill set, emotional intelligence to connect with people's value system, what they value, not what you value, what they value, you're not going to get what you value. That's the reality. Okay? These are the reality. And you can avoid reality all you want, but you cannot avoid the consequences of avoiding reality. Yeah. Welcome, Just J. We just got done. Do me a favor, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? Do me a favor, please. First of all, I appreciate you. Take this video, the link to this video, share with 10 people. I would really, really appreciate that, you know. Share with 10 people. I will be spending some resources, maybe in 2 or 3 weeks, to promote the platform, because we need more people listening to this stuff. And I need the encouragement. I'm human. I get myself off the pedestal, right? I need the encouragement. So please take the link to this video, share it with 10 people manually, 10 people, and then let me know that you've done so. And then follow me on Instagram. I'll see you on the next one.